coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
And good morning on your Monday. I'm Mark Soliday. It's a mid-morning check of some of the stories we're following here at Erie News Now. We call it the NOWCAST. We begin in Maryland, where police have a suspect in custody. A man charged with the murder of a former student at Erie's Collegiate Academy High School. All happened down in Baltimore last Thursday, according to police there. It was a 32-year-old Shania Green, who was a Collegiate Academy student, found in her current home in Maryland after being shot there last week. And authorities say she died at the hospital a short time after her body was discovered. Police say that 29-year-old suspect in this case, identified as Gomezika Chizala, knew Green, and he was apparently still at that crime scene when authorities got there last week. He's now facing a charge of first-degree murder. Well, hundreds of protesters have been taken to the streets in Florida to speak out about the unrest in Cuba. Protesters in both Tampa and Orlando, Florida, were spotted carrying signs and waving flags, basically calling for support for the Cuban people. The economic situation on the island of Cuba has really worsened in recent weeks. Lots of Cubans worrying about a lack of food, a lack of medicine, as well as an ongoing lack of electricity in a lot of homes and even in a lot of workplaces. Thousands of Cubans protesting the government there as well. It's the largest anti-government protest on the island of Cuba since all the way back in 1994. Then leader Fidel Castro facing these protests. Now, at a press conference, Miami's mayor is calling for international intervention to help with that crisis in Cuba, and the calls for that intervention are to be led by the United States. And in Haiti this morning, police say they have now arrested a Haitian man who helped orchestrate the assassination of President Moïse last week. The 63-year-old Christian Emmanuel Senon apparently entered the country on a private plane back in June. They say he was in touch with a Florida-based Venezuelan security firm about recruiting 26 Colombian mercenaries, as well as 2 Haitian Americans, also a group that entered the country back in June. Senon was reportedly the first one of the alleged assassins called after killing Moïse. A 3-man, a woman, all arrested on drug and gun charges at an upscale hotel out in Denver, Colorado. And of course, it all comes ahead of tomorrow's Major League Baseball All-Star game out in Colorado. The police chief in Denver says the arrests were actually made back on Friday, and it came after an employee at that Denver hotel saw something suspicious and notified authorities. Eventually, 2 hotel rooms were searched, and police removed some 16 long guns along with body armor and more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition. One of these suspects being held on a $50,000 bond. 3 others scheduled to have bond hearings out in Colorado later today. Well, more than 250,000 people across Pennsylvania could have some money from the state coming their way after officials in Harrisburg admitted that they had overcharged some people on unemployment. The Department of Labor and Industry says it plans to issue refunds to those impacted folks. All centers around the interest that accrues on money people owe to the Department of Labor because, for various reasons, the state had overpaid their unemployment benefits. Apparently happens fairly regularly. So instead of using the state revenue department's interest rates, the Labor Department charged a flat 9% interest rate on that money owed to them. Just too high. The state calls it all an oversight, but they admit it affects about 250,000 people across the Commonwealth. And they do say the refunds to those folks on unemployment will probably amount to about $50 or less for most folks. And it looks like Erie native Steve Scully is moving on from his duties at political network C-SPAN and already in a new job. He announced that permanent departure from C-SPAN on his Twitter account last week. And according to a report in the Erie Times News, Scully's already got that new job underway. He's working for a Washington, D.C. think tank called the Bipartisan Policy Center. The 60-year-old Scully had worked for WSCE-TV early on in his career, of course, before eventually landing at C-SPAN. He was suspended from the network last year after some controversial online exchanges were revealed. All of that came shortly before Scully was set to host one of last year's presidential debates. That, in turn, did not happen. Now, Scully initially claimed his account had been hacked, but later admitted to lying about that. Well, here in Erie and across the country, we've seen the vaccine efforts slow down pretty significantly in recent weeks. A lot fewer people going to clinics like the ones we have been seeing down at the Bayfront Convention Center. That Delta variant, though, at basically the same time, is becoming the most dominant variant of the coronavirus and got a lot of health officials concerned. Erie News Now's Elena Jonathan spoke to one local hospital responsible for those mass vaccination clinics.
The Delta variant of the coronavirus has now become the dominant strain across the United States. As the vaccination rollout is slowing down coast to coast, right here at home, we're seeing rates slow down significantly. Over at UPMC Hammett, Dr. Gregory Beard is the Vice President of Medical Affairs. He's seen less people going to get the vaccine here at home, but think our hospital systems have done well getting the vaccine out.
We can obviously always do better, and I think we should continue to try to facilitate and push vaccination amongst those who are unvaccinated.
The Delta variant has made its way across the United States, and Dr. Beard says if more people don't opt to get vaccinated against COVID, we could see hospitalizations spike like we did last winter.
98% of the people in the country now who get admitted with the Delta variant and are sick with coronavirus, and actually who die from the coronavirus, 98% of those are now unvaccinated people. That's how effective the vaccine is.
Many people would want to see our lives go back to how it was pre-pandemic. Dr. Beard says it may not be that easy.
I think we need to continue to be cautious because coronavirus is still here, and other viruses as well.
Elena Jonathan, Erie News Now.
All right, British billionaire Richard Branson making news over the weekend because he soared into space on board his very own Virgin Galactic spaceship.
It was just like the most incredible dream, and we're all just so lucky to have been able to participate in it. And
Yeah, the spaceship actually detached from its mothership above New Mexico's desert on Sunday. The trip took Branson, a couple of pilots, and 3 others on a 2,300-mile-an-hour ride, more than 50 miles up, basically touching the inner edge of space. The crew was able to experience a few minutes of weightlessness before returning to Earth and that old gravity. Yeah, the entire flight, from takeoff to landing, lasted about an hour. Branson, the first person to blast off in his very own spaceship, beating out, of course, fellow billionaire Amazon boss Jeff Bezos. Boy, I don't know. It makes my weekend seem lame by comparison. I had some great chicken wings from down at Rand's in Meadville. That was sort of an out-of-this-world experience, but I don't think it's quite Richard Branson's space trip.
Nah, it sounds better to me. I kind of like gravity.
I don't know. Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
So I guess you're answering my question. Would you do that? Go up into space on, kind of hitch a ride with Richard Branson or maybe Jeff Bezos?
No.
Me neither.
No, I don't know what to talk about because they're too rich, and like anything that I would do would seem petty to their levels.
All right.
It'd be hard to get into a conversation with them. Just throwing that out there. Right now we do have cloudy skies as we look out over Upper Peach Street this morning. We're down by Interchange Road, and you can see we've got a little bit of late morning traffic out there. But of course, as we get closer to lunchtime, more folks out and about. Now, as we get closer to lunchtime, that's when rain chances go back up. Right now, we are dealing with mainly cloudy skies. As we get later in the afternoon, our heavy rain threat really for the lakeshore starts to really pick up. It looks like we may have some of those showers originally start farther south, but they'll eke their way into northern parts of the area as we continue forward in time. So we do have that flash flood watch in effect for areas mainly this afternoon. Heavy rain obviously going to lead to that potential for some isolated flooding. We could also have some strong gusty winds as well. Here's the flash flood watch that does kick into effect this afternoon, continues through 10 o'clock, and you can see we've added a couple of counties in western New York, Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County, Erie, Crawford, as well as Ashtabula. We do have that flooding risk as we go through the day. Right now, we are seeing some showers out there, especially for areas a bit away from the lake shore, but right now it's fairly light stuff. But as we get into the afternoon, you'll notice the intensity of the rain starts to pick up, and with these showers, they won't be moving overly fast, and they could be training, which means one comes along, then another one comes along, then another one comes along, kind of like a train would. And whenever you have heavy rain showers back to back to back, that can obviously lead to some of that isolated flooding, and we can see that as we continue through the end of the afternoon. Could be a little bit closer to the lake shore as we get towards the end of the day before everything kind of just rains itself out. The atmosphere today is like a sponge. It's got a lot of moisture in it. You squeeze it, all of that comes on out, and then eventually you have nothing left, and that's kind of what we're looking at towards the evening hours, and especially into the overnight. But then on Tuesday, we'll see the storms reflare once again. May not have as much heavy rain out there, but certainly any of those showers that do develop will have the capability of producing a very quick downpour. We are in a very unsettled pattern thanks to the fact that we've got a lot of humidity in our air mass right now, and so That's going to allow for those rain chances to stay up. And of course, whenever you have some sort of a front feature in place, you have something to allow that air to rise. That's going to allow for more of those showers as well. And right now, we're seeing a cap on those temperatures because we do have enough cloud cover in place, and we are expecting temperatures to warm their way into the middle 70s as we get into the afternoon, middle and upper 70s out there. And you can see across Crawford County, temperatures today trying to get into the upper 70s, but of course we are held down with more of that cloud cover. Temperatures upper 70s into Warren County today. A little bit of sunshine out there, but we're watching the heavy rain threat as we get into the afternoon. We'll talk more about the next couple of days. Still enough opportunities for rain. That's coming up in just a moment.
All right, this next story might involve the must-see video of the morning. It's an investigation underway on this Monday after a ride at a park, a festival over in Michigan, appeared to malfunction, and folks kind of tried to jump right in and help. Check this out. It's cell phone video from last Thursday night. Shows the base of this ride in Michigan basically appearing to lift right off the ground, yeah, kind of coming loose from its moorings. And rather than head for the hills, concerned spectators run over, trying to help keep that ride from basically tipping over. And thankfully, they slowed it down, got it stopped. Everybody on board was able to walk away from this scene. The ride was eventually taken to a factory over in Ohio to look into what went wrong. Thankfully, everybody okay, though. All right, Italy's triumphant soccer team made a triumphant return to Rome this morning. That's after winning the Euro 2020 final in England. Yeah, a year-delayed soccer tournament. They were surrounded by their jubilant fans who'd been waiting since dawn for the Italian team to get back. They clinched the first major soccer title in 15 years. A dramatic penalty shootout win over hard luck England. The players are going to meet with the Italian president and prime minister at some point on this Monday. And that's just how big a victory that one was for the Italian soccer team in that tournament. All right, we've got, again, some rain chances kind of scattered right throughout the week, it seems, Dan.
Yeah, afternoon showers today, afternoon showers tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, could be dealing with some of that rain a little bit earlier in the day as a front comes on through, and you can see, yeah, temperature's still not going down much. We'll still be in the lower 80s. Thursday could actually be fairly dry overall, limited those rain chances down to just 30% there. More scattered storms maybe later in the day on Friday. So it's timing. That's when obviously we are looking at these showers, not just an all-day event. So any of those outdoor plans, you need to stay with that first warning weather forecast, give you an idea of how things could be shaping out. And of course, you want to have that radar in your pocket, basically on your phone, and you can get that with the Erie News Now app. You can get first warning weather that way. Notice as we get into the weekend, we still have more of the showers around, but the weekend may actually not be that wet overall, but it will certainly be on the warm side with those highs in the low middle 80s.
All right, thank you, David. That's going to do it for this edition of the NOWCAST. We'll be back on Facebook Live about the same time tomorrow. A reminder, we have a half hour's worth of news coming your way at noon on WSEE, and we'll start Tuesday morning's edition of Erie News Now Sunrise at 5 a.m. We'll see you then.